Well, Al Jazeera has gained access to confidential documents passed between the top ranks of the Syrian government. The files were drafted by a senior command cell, which meets daily to discuss national security matters. They provide revealing insight into the government's strategy, including the lengths it's willing to go to protect its strongholds. Let's bring in James Bays. He's live for us now in Istanbul, in Turkey. James, what do these documents tell us about the Syrian regime?
Well, Doreen, for months the opposition had a mole at the heart of the Assad security apparatus, working, as you say, in this joint coordination cell that coordinates the work of all the intelligence agencies, all the security forces across the country. About a month ago, though, that man discovered that he'd been found out, he'd been compromised. He had to leave Syria to flee for his life. And as he left the country, he took with him some of Syria's most secret documents. Crossing the divide, Abdul Majid Barakat, until recently one of the Assad regime's most trusted officials, is now at a safe house in Istanbul meeting opposition activists. The former Ba'ath Party member was in charge of collating information from across Syria at the secret Joint Crisis Management Cell in Damascus.
It was a mission for me when I was working there to leak the information, to transfer the data to the opposition internally and abroad. They found out there was a leak a month ago and I had to leave.
Later, he took us to a location elsewhere in the city where he's under 24-hour guard. It's here that he showed us the documents, many of them marked top secret, that he took out of Syria, hidden under his clothes in a bag taped to his back. You were one of the few people who saw the reports coming in from across the country with the real information of what was going on. What did you think when you read these reports, when you found out what was happening?
Any person reading these reports will be shocked and will realize that Syria is living a true crisis. Killing, criminality, suppression of protesters. However, security chiefs try to paint a beautiful picture in their reports. They ignore many substantial facts on the ground simply to boost the president's morale.
He says the documents show the regime is prepared to spy on both its own citizens and, most controversially, on the Arab League monitoring mission, which was in Syria at the end of last year.
This document, for example, speaks of spying bluntly on Arab monitors. It shows that the Arab League's team were closely followed and constantly monitored. These are the reports of the Interior Ministry on spying on Syrian diplomats and their Arab counterparts in order to take preemptive measures in case they think of defection. And here we have the security plan for Damascus. It shows that the city is divided and put under the control of the security and intelligence forces. But what is significant here is the deployment of thousands of the regime's thugs to control the capital. This presidential decree says that any gathering or demonstration in a public square shall be deemed as a riot and be culpable for imprisonment from 1 month to 1 year.
So this is Rais, the president, Bashar al-Assad. There's a lot of detail in these documents. We discover that every evening, 7 p.m. Damascus time, there's a meeting of all the intelligence and security chiefs looking back at what's happened across the country during the day, making their plans, making their orders for the next day. Those plans then go to the office of the president the following morning, and he himself signs all the orders, gives the final go-ahead. The defector has told us he wants these documents, which all have signatures of leading figures in the Assad regime, to go to the International Criminal Court. He says they prove who's giving the orders and could form part of a war crimes prosecution.
James Bays, thank you very much. James talking to us from Istanbul. Let's take a closer look at those documents that James was just telling us about. Now, they point to a regime that's desperate to keep control of cities still loyal to Bashar al-Assad. As we heard, Damascus, in fact, is central to that effort. The command cell meets in the heart of the capital, and the files include clear orders to stop protesters from getting into the city. Well, the government is also worried about Aleppo and Idlib. They have detailed security plans for both those cities. Now, one document orders top officials to give financial and moral support to President Assad's supporters in the city of Aleppo. And in one cable marked confidential, the government warns that Syria's foreign minister of countries trying to influence Syrian diplomats to defect. It goes on to detail offers of asylum by several states. The documents go on to spell out where protests have been taking place and how many people were involved. And some of the biggest rallies have been in the province of Idlib. That's according to the Syrian government.